The first time I saw her, I thought I was hallucinating. It was late at night, and I was walking home from my shift at the observatory. The stars above were unusually bright, and the air felt charged, as if a storm was brewing. But there was no storm. Instead, there was her. She stood at the edge of the forest, her silhouette glowing faintly under the moonlight. Her skin was a soft, iridescent blue, and her hair shimmered like strands of liquid silver. She was unlike anything I had ever seen, beautiful, ethereal, and undeniably alien. But what struck me most was the desperation in her eyes. She was holding the hand of a small child, and behind her, two more children peeked out nervously. "Please," she said, her voice trembling but clear. "Help us." I froze, unsure if I was dreaming. But the fear in her eyes was real, and so were the children clinging to her. Against my better judgment, I stepped closer. "Who are you?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. "My name is Lyra," she said. "We are from a planet far from here. We were abandoned by our kind, left to die on this world. Please, we have nowhere to go." I didn't know what to say. My rational mind screamed at me to run, to call the authorities, to do anything but get involved. But something about her, her vulnerability, her quiet strength, made me stay. "Come with me," I said finally. "I'll help you." Lyra and her children followed me to my small cabin on the outskirts of town. It wasn't much, but it was warm and safe. As they stepped inside, I noticed how thin and frail they looked. Their clothes were tattered, and their skin had a faint, sickly pallor. They were clearly starving. I quickly rummaged through my kitchen, offering them whatever I could find: bread, fruit, and a pot of soup I had made earlier. They ate ravenously, their gratitude evident in their eyes. As they ate, Lyra told me their story. Her people, the Zarathians, were a nomadic species, traveling the stars in search of new worlds to settle. But Lyra had been cast out by her mate, a cruel and power-hungry leader named Crow. He had accused her of treason, claiming she had conspired against him. In reality, she had simply refused to support his tyrannical rule. As punishment, Crow had abandoned her and their 3 children on Earth, a planet he deemed primitive and unworthy. "We have been here for weeks," Lyra said, her voice breaking. "We tried to survive, but we are not adapted to this world. The air is too thick, the food is strange, and the nights are cold. My children, they are growing weaker every day." I felt a surge of anger at Crow's cruelty. How could anyone abandon their own family like that? But more than that, I felt a deep sense of responsibility. Lyra and her children had no one else. If I didn't help them, they would die. "You can stay here," I said firmly. "I'll do everything I can to help you." Over the next few weeks, I did my best to make Lyra and her children feel at home. I converted my spare room into a makeshift nursery for the kids, and I spent hours researching how to care for alien life forms. It wasn't easy. Their biology was vastly different from ours, but I was determined to make it work. Lyra was incredibly resilient. Despite everything she had been through, she remained strong for her children. She taught me about her culture, her language, and her people's history. In return, I taught her about Earth, our customs, our technology, and our way of life. We grew closer with each passing day, and I found myself drawn to her in ways I couldn't explain. One night, as we sat by the fire, Lyra turned to me with a serious expression. "You have done so much for us," she said, "but I fear we are putting you in danger. If Crow discovers we are here, he will come for us, and he will not hesitate to harm you." I shook my head. "I'm not afraid of him. You and your children are my family now. I'll protect you no matter what." Lyra's eyes filled with tears. "Thank you," she whispered. "You are a kind and brave man. I do not know how to repay you." "You don't have to," I said, taking her hand. "Just stay with me. That's all I ask. As the months passed, Lyra and I grew even closer. We became partners in every sense of the word, working together to build a life for her children. The kids, Zara, Taro, and Nima, were thriving under our care. They were curious and energetic, always eager to learn about their new home. It was a joy to watch them grow, but our peace was short-lived. One evening, as I was returning from town, I noticed a strange ship hovering above the forest. My heart sank. It was Crow. I rushed back to the cabin, where Lyra was waiting with the children. "He's here," I said, my voice tight with fear. "We need to leave. Now." Lyra nodded, her face pale but determined. We gathered the children and fled into the forest, hoping to lose Crow in the dense trees. But he was relentless. His ship followed us, its searchlights cutting through the darkness. "We can't outrun him," Lyra said, her voice trembling. "He will never stop hunting us." "Then we'll fight," I said, gripping her hand. "I won't let him take you." We found a small cave and hid inside, hoping to buy ourselves some time. But Crow's ship soon landed nearby, and we could hear his footsteps approaching. My heart pounded as I prepared to face him. When Crow appeared at the entrance of the cave, he was every bit as terrifying as Lyra had described. He was tall and muscular, with cold, calculating eyes. He sneered when he saw me. "So this is the human who thinks he can steal my family," he said, his voice dripping with contempt. "You are nothing but a primitive creature. Step aside, or I will destroy you." I stood my ground, shielding Lyra and the children. "They're not yours anymore," I said, my voice steady. "You abandoned them. They're my family now." Crow's eyes flashed with anger. He raised his hand, and a strange weapon materialized in his grasp. But before he could fire, Lyra stepped forward. "Enough, Crow," she said, her voice strong and clear. "You have no power over us anymore. We are free of you." Crow hesitated, his grip on the weapon faltering. For a moment, I thought he might back down. But then his expression hardened, and he aimed the weapon at Lyra. "If I cannot have you," he snarled, "then no one will." Time seemed to slow as Crow pulled the trigger. But before the blast could hit Lyra, I threw myself in front of her. The impact knocked me off my feet, and I felt a searing pain in my chest. I collapsed to the ground, my vision blurring. "No!" Lyra screamed. She knelt beside me, her hands trembling as she tried to stop the bleeding. "Please stay with me. Don't leave us." I wanted to tell her it would be okay, that I would be fine, but the words wouldn't come. My strength was fading fast. Crow laughed, a cruel, heartless sound. "Pathetic," he said. "You sacrificed yourself for nothing." But he was wrong. As I lay there, I realized I had done the right thing. I had protected the people I loved, and that was enough. Just as my vision began to fade, I heard a loud crash. Through the haze, I saw a bright light fill the cave. Crow screamed, and then there was silence. When I opened my eyes, I saw Lyra standing over me, her hands glowing with a soft, golden light. The wound in my chest was gone, and I felt stronger than ever. "How?" I whispered. Lyra smiled, tears streaming down her face. "I used the last of my energy to heal you," she said. "I couldn't lose you. Not after everything you've done for us." I sat up, pulling her into my arms. "What happened to Crow?" "He's gone," Lyra said. "I used my powers to banish him. He won't bother us again." With Crow gone, we were finally free to live our lives in peace. Lyra and I built a home together, raising her children as our own. Over time, we became a true family, bound by love and shared experiences. Years later, as I sat on the porch with Lyra, watching the children play under the stars, I realized how far we had come. We had faced unimaginable challenges, but we had overcome them together. And in the end, that was all that mattered. Lyra leaned her head on my shoulder, her silver hair shimmering in the moonlight. "Thank you," she said softly. "For everything." I smiled, pulling her closer. "Thank you," I replied, "for giving me a family." And as we sat there, hand in hand, I knew that no matter what the future held, we would face it together. Because we were more than just a man and an alien woman. We were a team, a family, and nothing could ever tear us apart.